So the question says, which equation or equations have a slope of -3/4 and pass through the point 1, -5? Select all that apply. And so we have these choices here, and these are all linear equations. The first two are written in standard form, ax plus by equals c, which isn't very useful because you can't tell the slope from that. C and D are in point slope form, which is useful because this -3/4 here is the slope, and then these two values here give you the point that it goes through. And we'll talk about how to figure out what that means exactly. E and F are in slope intercept form, so that's helpful because we can see that the slope is right here. It's -3/4. And then we'll figure out how to see if it goes through the point 1, -5. So first, let's start off by writing down these forms. So we have slope intercept form. Well, let me start with standard form. So I have standard form. These are different forms of linear equations, and you really should memorize these. You need to know these. And so the standard form is ax plus by equals c. And that's what A and B are in. They're in standard form. And again, that's not a very useful form because the A, B, and C don't really tell us any information. Then I have, let's do point slope next. So point slope form, which I said C and D are in this form, point slope. And point slope form looks like y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And in this one, the m equals the slope. M equals the slope, which is useful. And then the x1 and the y1 are a point that the line goes through. The x1, y1. And you have to be careful with the x1, y1 because of these minus signs. So if you see a plus sign, that means that the y or the, so if this was plus y1, the y1 would be a negative value. It's the opposite because the standard form has a minus. So you got to be careful with that. And then the last one we have is slope intercept form. So slope intercept, I'm just going to write int for intercept. It's y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. B is the y-intercept. So that's where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so let's start off by looking at A and B, and let's change those into slope-intercept form. So let's solve them for y so we can get some information out of them. So for A, I'm trying to figure out where I want to do this. So let's change colors. I'll do A here. So I have 3x plus 4y equals 17. 3x plus 4y equals 17. I'm solving this for y, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides of the equation. So minus 3x. So this is solving a literal equation with two variables. That goes away. And then I have 4y equals 17 minus 3x. But to put it in slope-intercept form, usually the x is first. So instead of 17 minus 3x, I'm just going to write it as negative 3x plus 17, which is equivalent. So then it's really in the form. And then for b, oh, sorry, I'm not done yet with that. I got to get rid of the 4. So I have to divide both sides by 4. And so divide everything on both sides by 4. And so then I end up with y equals negative 3/4 x plus 17/4. And so the slope the coefficient of x is negative 3/4, so that one's good with the slope. So now let's look at b. So I think I can fit b underneath this. So we'll do. Now I'm going to do it over here. I wish I had more room. Do it down on the bottom here. So b, I have the same thing, but it's equal to negative 17. So 3x plus 4y equals negative 17. Subtract the 3x minus 3x minus 3x. And so that gives me 4y equals, again, I'm going to write negative 3x minus 17. I'm going to divide by 4. 4, 4, and 4. And so that goes away, and I'm left with y equals negative 3/4 x minus 17/4. Okay, so they both have the right slope. So what's going to decide whether they work or not is whether or not they go through that point. And we'll talk about in a second how to do that. So let me just write this over here. So this one became, A became y equals negative 3/4 x plus 17/4. And then B became almost the same thing. Y equals negative 3/4 x minus 17/4. Okay, so how do we find out if they go through the point 1, negative 5? So what we're going to do is, this is an x and a y value, right? The 1, negative 5. We're going to plug those in and see if the equation comes out to be true. And if it does, then that means it goes through that point. And so I'm really running out of room. I don't like to work sideways, but we're going to try it, see if I can fit this in here. So I'm going to replace y with negative 5. I'm going to replace x with 1. So I have negative 5 equals negative 3/4 times 1 plus 17/4. Oh, 17/4. Erase my little squiggle there. All right, so I multiply negative 3/4 times 1. I get negative 3/4. I add that to 17/4, and I get negative 5 equals 14/4. Now, that is not true, so A doesn't work. So it doesn't go through the point 1, negative 5. Had the right slope, negative 3/4, but it didn't go through that point. So now we'll try the same thing with B. So again, I'm going to replace y with negative 5 and x with 1. So I have negative 5 equals negative 3/4 times 1. And this time minus 17/4. So negative 3/4 minus 17/4 gives me negative 20/4. So I have negative 5 equals negative 20 over 4. And negative 20 over 4 simplifies to negative 5. So it says negative 5 equals negative 5. So that one is good. So B is good. So if you're thinking, man, this question is a lot of work, you're right. This is a lot of work for this question. All right. So these next two should be a little bit easier. And so these are in point slope form. So again, I'll just write this below it to remind you. So point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we can just pull what we need directly from the equation. So the slope is negative 3/4. So m equals negative 3/4. So that's good. That's what we want. The point comes from the x1, y1. So the x1 is positive 1. Remember, the signs are backwards here because the standard form is minus. So the x1 is positive 1, and then the y1 is negative 5. So this goes through the point 1, negative 5, which is what we want. So this one is also good. Now, you can quickly look at the next one and you can see that the x value is going to be negative 1. So here we had an x value of 1. Here we have an x value of negative 1. So that's not going to be good. That's not going to work. This one goes through the point negative 1, positive 5. That's not the right point. All right. Now for E and F, we made our lives simple by doing the work for A and B. So A and B we put into slope-intercept form. We said B is correct. Y equals negative 3/4 x minus 17/4. So that means F is correct because that's the equation written in slope-intercept form. All right. E is really the same thing as A, right? If you look at it in slope-intercept form, same thing. So that's not correct. So again, a lot of work here, lots of opportunities to make mistakes. So this is a pretty tough question. If you need to, go back and look at it again. Keep working hard, and you will master the math.